Hey everyone, welcome to the Piney podcast. I'm Tony D. What up, my Pineys? Let's see. What's in the news? Oh, right, the beer virus. Sorry, it's going to be a mostly beer virus episode. Good news, things have gone back down. New cases we're at 3,300. Now, I have a bit of a theory with why we got this weird drop off and then spike and then back to where we were, which was around 3,000. My theory is this. When we got 2,700 3 days ago, 2,700 new cases, someone was late in reporting their numbers. That got pushed over to the next day, which was yesterday, which was why the numbers spiked to 4,000. Now, that's just a theory of mine, because if you take about 600 away from the 4,000, added to the 2,700, you get 3,300, then 3,400, then 3,300, which is about where we were. So, I don't know. That may or may not mean anything, because part of the issue is testing, part of the issue is reporting in an efficient manner, and we can't always rely upon the state to do that. So you have to take these numbers with a grain of salt. However, it looks like we're back to where we were, at least for now. We'll see what tomorrow brings. So a lot of people are getting more antsy because the death toll is going up, which is unfortunate, of course. But the thing is, people don't, most people don't die from the beer virus. But B, and more importantly, if they do, it doesn't happen immediately after it's been reported they have it. So it takes a while, which is why we're seeing this delayed effect. So the numbers are going up, death toll, and unfortunately, I think the media is sort of latching on to that to continue to scare people a little bit and to sell clicks. I don't know if you should really be worried about that, beyond how you're worried now. Continue to, face mask and gloves and all that. But, at some point, people have to live their lives. We're coming to the point now where they're seriously talking about opening things up again. Now, I've read that things have been pushed back in New Jersey. The peak model has been pushed back to April 25th. But I'm not sure that peak totally makes any sense. Yet, I think we're at a plateau situation for the most part. Because other than the aberration yesterday and the day before, we've been slowly going down. So, as long as that trend goes back to where it was, hovering around 3,000 and going down in general overall, I think we passed the peak last week. But I could be wrong. I'm not, a doctor, and these numbers are only so valuable to us. Again, with the meat situation, I haven't really heard more on that. Get your meat stores up a little bit. But beyond that, we're really talking about shortage of meat down the road anyway. And it could be that the closing of one of the major meat packing plants isn't that big a deal, as the remaining ones ramp up their production, add more people to their job, their job roster, and it could actually benefit the remaining meat producers in the mix. So, the idea that businesses closing is universally a bad thing. Well, in the general sort of surface sense, it is. But when you look at it in the bigger picture, the way things evolve, generally the things that survive in evolution are the stronger, more resilient, smarter things. So when we say, well, we're going to lose a lot of businesses and jobs, these jobs and businesses may not have survived anyway. They may have done some harm hanging on and sort of limping along, rather than abruptly closing, if you know what I mean. So, the idea could be that someone working in just, I don't know, say like a coffee shop that's just kind of barely hanging on. And, when they opened, they were this great new place and they put a lot of money in it and time. But, as they struggled to stay afloat, they cut back on all the amenities. And now you're just down to the owner desperately, working, half the shifts and like one employee trying to hold it together. And they're kind of barely getting by. It's a sort of situation that is stressful for both the owner and the employee. The customer may not be getting as good a service as they once did, and kind of just sort of, out of loyalty, sort of, going on, and they sort of slowly die over the course of a year rather than going out of business and both of the people in the business moving on to bigger and better things. So it may be that those two people would be better in other jobs, or that they would be better working for someone else who's got a better business model, or that by them hanging on, they're drawing money and business away from another coffee shop not that far away that has a much better business model. I saw that in the world of comics because I managed a comic book store and I was in the comic book business, and I could see some comic book stores had a great model. But other comic book stores that would open up kind of on the spur of the owner's delusion that he knew what he was doing, they were just drawing away customers from the stores that were better situated to survive an epic apocalypse like this, or that that were just better stores. And people went to the new guy, even though he kind of didn't know what he was doing, because, well, in part because he didn't know what he was doing. Sometimes he would give discounts that he really couldn't afford in the long run. And so for a short time, the customer benefited because they could get comics at a great discount, or maybe, you had employees. One guy I remember in particular, his employee was, well, I'll just say it, he was a thief. And, I felt bad for the guy because I think he was, I didn't have proof and I couldn't step in between this guy and the owner, but I think he was giving away comics to his friend or his friends in general, because the moment the owner left, he acted like, very lackadaisical. And this is a problem in anybody's business. You have to get good employees, and you have to watch them because sometimes they'll steal from you if they're dishonest. So it may have benefited that owner to close under a situation like this, with some money left and some stock left, and reevaluate his business model. And it would have been better for the comics community in general, because the remaining stores, which were stronger to begin with, are stronger because now they're not competing against, say, a weaker store that all they did was draw away a few customers for a time. So that's just one way of looking at it in terms of business. It's an evolution. But in South Jersey, I think we're going to see a lot of places close up. I hope one of those places is not Jack's Donuts, which is not far from my house. Jack's is still open. Good for you guys. They have amazing donuts, and I hope they survive this. They're a tiny place, though, and it used to be the kind of place you'd go, a bit of a greasy spoon kind of atmosphere. You'd get a nice breakfast and an amazing donut. Actually, amazing food, too. I've gone there when I wanted bacon. I didn't want to cook it myself. I just got a side of bacon because I was desperate for a BLT. And man, crispy as hell bacon. Put it all in the box for me, and I was on my way. I'm going to have to get over there to Jack's Donuts and get a donut. Oh, now that I'm just talking about it, I'm dying for a donut. But anyhow, the one bit of non-beer virus related news in South Jersey is the escape of Yogi the cow in Hamilton. Escaped from a family farm, and the cops had to corral Yogi and take him back to where he belongs because he somehow got out of his pen. So that pretty much encapsulates South Jersey in a nutshell: an escaping cow and cops having to bring the cow back to the family farm. So stay inside, Yogi. Stay inside. That's the rule. You're a cow. You don't understand. This is a big thing. You have to stay in, and we don't want you sick, Yogi. We want delicious, fresh cow milk. I'm sure your owners do, and so I'm glad Yogi appears to be safe and back where he belongs. But that's it in South Jersey for the Piney Podcast. So keep washing those hands, keep wearing those face masks, and hopefully we'll be out of this soon. Don't forget to start planting your garden. Start thinking about that garden. I think you're going to need it in the coming weeks. And if you don't, hey, no big deal. You get some free fresh vegetables that you grew out of yourself. You can't go wrong with tomatoes, unless you hate tomatoes. Unless you're some kind of Jersey tomato hater, which makes you a weirdo in my book. You will not regret planting a garden with some Jersey tomatoes. That's it for the Piney Podcast. We will see you next time.